Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Society of Women Engineers Europe inspiration session, AI's impact on STEM skills and career development. My name is Haley Carney Noonish, and I'll be your host and moderator today. A little about me. I'm a mechanical engineer, a longtime member of the Society of Women Engineers, living in Hanover, Germany. Give me a heart to all the European located people. And I am very excited about AI and what it means for our careers in our field. So, moderating today's session feels like a perfect fit. I'm delighted to welcome our panelist, Carolina van Humpel, Associated Director, Cyber and Digital Risk at BD, and Lucia Simonazzi, Principal Regional Business Partner at Micron Semiconductor Italia. To learn more about our backgrounds, check this link in the chat. As we go through this session, please share your questions, comments, and experiences and ideas in the chat. We want to hear from you. After the panel, we'll have a live question and answer to address your questions and remarks, and then we'll move into a breakout session so you can also exchange ideas with one another. So, Carolina, Lucia, let's get started with a bit of context from each of our perspectives, as we come from different sectors and backgrounds. Can you give us a brief outline of where AI is being used in your sector and one key change that implies for STEM professionals?
Yeah. You want me to start, Haley?
Would love it.
Okay. So at BD, we see that AI is being used across two key dimensions. So first, we have our products and patient care, and then we have our operations. So if you think about products and patient care, it's really AI helps to generate insights to support clinicians, improve the outcomes. And especially because now, these days, healthcare is moving towards much more connected devices. So that's a critical area for us. And then second, we have our operations. Like any company, AI is really transforming how we work. Think about analyzing large volumes of data, supporting decision making, and really improving how we serve our customers. But now, if we think about key changes that drive STEM professionals, it's really quite fundamental because AI is really taking over a lot of the analysis, the processing, which means that roles are then shifting more towards interpretation, decision making, critical thinking, asking the right questions, and then accountability as a last one. So you're no longer just building or analyzing systems. It's really a responsibility that you have to make sure that those systems have real world and often high stakes environments have the right outcomes for your company. And in healthcare specifically, you have added layers like trust, compliance, safety. So yeah, it's no longer just about the technical skills only. It's about understanding the data governance because it's all about the data, the security, and also the ethical use in the end. So for me, AI is not really replacing STEM roles. It's really elevating them, but by shifting the focus from execution to judgment, responsibility, and trust. That's key for me.
Wow. Huge responsibility for good thing that we still have our jobs coming up. Good. Lucia, what do you think?
I am Lucia. Welcome to this session to all our participants. And, I work for Micron Technology Incorporated, that is our global company. And I am currently working for the EMEA region. So about Micron and AI, we produce components that are critical and key for the AI storage and in HBM products. So for us, AI has become our fundamental for our business and for our future. And that's why we are also, our customers are looking for our best compliance of our products, and that can guarantee that their storage and their products are, working at the best for their products as well. So that's critical for us. And so what I can say is that Micron as all the semiconductor industry, obviously we are in a branch that is in this moment very impacted by this big challenge. And what I can say is that is used in manufacturing for optimizing the processes, but also we need to accelerate the design of our components and calculate at the best what is really needed inside. So I just mentioned the three critical skills. That is the statistics, calculation are very critical for us, and going to the STEM roles. And I agree with Caroline, is we are embedding the AI knowledge in all of the roles, not only the STEM roles that are obviously critically and deeply impacted by this change, and they need to be incorporating the AI capability into their roles and professional development, but also other roles, because if we work for a company so exposed to this challenge and this world changing, we cannot be excluded. We need to, all of the roles are impacted in our company to maintain, the same level of answer to demands of this new market.
Agreed. I also see it. I'm coming from an automotive. We make tires, so Continental tires. We also see that AI coming from the design to producing, and I'm in quality. So really, how do we use quality to make our decisions? And you use AI. The question is that what coming from AI still the right answer? And that decision coming from the STEM is to evaluate, is it the right one, or should we steer down a different path? And that's very important to analyze there. And so as we go into the critical skills, we see that human expertise adds that true value. What viewpoint, what kind of expertise remains critical in that STEM? And are there skills that risk being lost or forgotten or undervalued? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is not, to your point, not really a reduction of human value, but really the shift into where does the value sit. And that's where the human aspect comes to light. I recently was looking at a study from Agoria. They are a Belgian federation for the technology industry, and they represent companies across technology, manufacturing, and digital. And they were looking specifically at how AI is reshaping skills. So in their study, they were very clear as AI takes over the more routine tasks, as we said before, analytical skills. The real differentiator is becoming the human layer, or the human skills, they called it. Things more like critical thinking, framing a problem correctly, the communication around it, professional judgment. So the contextual judgment came out of that, which is really interesting, because that's what humans do. They bring the context to the AI. So from my perspective, the expertise that remains critical is exactly that, the ability to do the interpretation of AI outputs, challenge them, and make sure that you make the accountable decisions, because eventually that's your output. You bring the eventual decisions that are valuable for your company. And especially in regulated environments like healthcare, that's for us very critical. And because AI can give answers, but it cannot take the responsibility for those answers, right? You are the one taking those responsibilities if you use exactly what the AI has come up with. And I would add to that, same as I said before, for us in sectors like healthcare, trust, safety, context, understanding the context of what comes out of an AI is a very human competence. So yeah, there's definitely that for me. Yeah.
Coming back to that responsibility. Yeah. Nice. Then Lucia.
Yes, sorry. And I was asking today, really tomorrow, I asked one of our director in the most engineering technology area, what he feels that is still human. And he gave me an answer to add what Carolina said, that is absolutely the base, in my opinion. He answered me that the very the very good opportunity that we are facing is the difference between the what and the how. So the humans are still defining the what AI should do, and AI is really the great advantage to write, to execute, and optimize, analyze the data that, but with the critical idea and the originating idea, the intent and the requirements that are defined by the humans. That cannot be, the advantage is to have an AI that is following what are the human requirements. That is remaining the most important part, because one example is the design. In the design, in our company, we are using a tool that is Cloud Code. So that can really help in analyzing multiple pages, but you need to ask what you need from that multiple pages. So it is very important that we have in mind what we want to achieve from asking AI. So AI is really a competitive tool for companies like us, because they are accelerating the knowledge, they are maintaining the knowledge, but the humans is important always and critical to define what are the requirements and the idea of what we need to achieve. So, and I like it very much. This is simple, definition.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, very nice. I just going into the what I see, even though as we get into AI and coming to the responsibility, and I know the verification, it's also the communication. Now we're going to get all these emails that are going to be AI generated. The question is, though, do we still understand those emails? Before, you may not always understood the emails, but still now the question is, are we still collecting it? Now we have even more communication coming from AI, but we still need that human touch to the connected and that psychology touch of your digitalization so that the people really accept it, because it's always that two-way thing. And that's where really this connection of digitalization and that psychology is even more important, even for STEM and career for that, to do it.
Absolutely.
We were talking, okay, we talked about change as being rapid and can be overwhelming. But do you think we even need engineers anymore? Because do we really need them to go in the depth, or can they just be these superficial points that maybe we don't even need them anymore to do that? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm very you touch a very soft spot with me, because you were talking about, indeed, do we need to go broad, do we need to go deep from a logic knowledge perspective. I definitely feel we still need to go deep, right? Because I sometimes have the feeling that people confuse or get confused when someone says, oh, we don't know, we no longer need the pure technical execution. That's something completely different than saying we don't need technical knowledge anymore, right? So we still need the knowledge, but you will not be the one in a lot of cases, like if you look at a pen tester or vulnerability scanning tool usage or things like that, you will not do the actual execution yourself, but you will need to understand what comes out of the AI solution, right? And if you don't have the right knowledge to challenge the AI and to really look at, okay, is this what I was expecting? Is this what I need? Then, yeah, I think in a few years we will be lost because we will have no longer anyone who will have that in-depth technical knowledge. So yeah, I definitely think we need to keep on the depth type of learning. But on the other hand, and that's where I think some of our new STEM students might be a bit fearful, And I was talking about the Agoria study before. So they were mentioning something that came out of their interviews with students, saying the new acronym FOBO. So students are having FOBO, meaning fear of being obsolete. Because students are hearing what I just said. Oh, we no longer need the technical knowledge. And then they think, okay, what am I learning here? I'm learning a technical skill. So what will happen when I go to the working environment and they no longer need me because the AI tool is doing everything? So there's that fear that I can see among students. But actually, what I see happening is that they will need the technical knowledge, and then on the other hand, they will also need to be critical thinkers. They will need to challenge. They will need to be much quicker in adapting to the working environment, to the tools, to everything, because they will no longer have the ability to learn along the way, doing the analysis, doing the actual technical work. So yeah, I think the continuous learning, and maybe going back to your first question, I think there's a bit of a shift in how we will learn, because the continuous learning, embedding that in your day-to-day work is inevitable. You will learn through experimenting, through learning from peers, from communities like these. And then second, it's the more like adaptability, the agility in learning, and not like if you learn something today, in 6 months time it can be completely different. And then also, yeah, what I just mentioned, making sure that okay, you have the in-depth technical knowledge for your domain, what you're studying for, but also you need to understand how does the AI work, how does it come up with those results, doing the interpretation of the results, asking the right questions, making sound decisions. So it's yeah, I think strengthening the critical thinking and judgment layer will become very crucial for everyone, not only for the new students, but also for us. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow, quite challenging. So we really need smart individuals coming on board to do all of those tricks for that, which is very good. Lucia, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there are two phases to go in deep, but also, what is really important is if you don't know especially for our engineering activities, if you don't know the processes, how they come. So as Carolina was mentioning, the fundamental of what we do is, if you don't know that, is very you cannot even understand what are the failures into an answer. So that's the point. So the criticism that each of us needs to know when getting an answer or a process or a data analysis should remain the same. So engineering are really important for organizations and companies like us, but also in general. So this mentality is very important to have more in-depth knowledge of what they are again interpreting, but also, is not staying as superficial, because if you just get an email and okay, that's true, it's really very structured, I love that, I would love that, but then if you just look at the superficial understanding, it's not giving you the right answer at what you need, coming back to what we were just mentioning. So it's very important and critical that you know the process, because this is only, the phase. It's not the content of what you need to know more. So that's really important. What is helping us is also to get, development. We will go in that maybe later, but it's the academic should introduce this depth knowledge of AI to be more equipped when someone is joining a job. That's my suggestion, that students should be aware of all of the aspects but being very much introduced in this big branch, a big new area. That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah, just knowing of what are the risks, what are the benefits of AI, that they should learn it. And I think you said it in a way, it's the curiosity to challenge the system, knowing it, to do it. That's how I see it. I remember I was studying in Atlanta, Georgia, at Georgia Tech, and we always had open book tests. And you could have all the information at your fingertip inside this 1.5 hour test. And the test is hard. They made it that most people fail. And I think this continuation of learning to fail, learning to be resilient, and even though you have all the information at your fingertip, how do you apply it? And I think just continuing this method of learning and adapting, and even if you fail, you're going to keep on trying to do that. And that curiosity to challenge. I think that's also what you guys really said, to do that. Um, and that's how we can navigate it. And it's not that we're just waiting for all the AI experts to arrive, but we really need all of us to learn it, because we said in our alignment is really we want people to use AI. You can't not use
mm-mm.
AI, because
Yeah.
that's to do it,
Yes.
to adapt it. As we go into it, so another huge debate is what AI means for the future of our certain roles. What's your view? We'll start with Lucia. Do you see your role changing, or do you think you'll be doing fundamentally different type of job in the future?
Well, I don't think so, honestly. I need to add, a discipline. I want to talk about a new discipline. So learning about a new base skill, competency in my background, that is in some way helping me in facilitating my daily job as it is doing now, because very honestly, I am using, in the people team, in the HR, we use a lot of data and it's really, but also we do a lot of benchmark with other companies. So that's fundamental that I learn how to use AI. And again, I need to include this discipline, and this is also for new roles in different technologies, that you need to embed this discipline. I think that this will become a component of the skills of each role. This is not possible to go back. Let me say this. So you need to include that, because this is for technologies, mathematic. This is deterministic. This is not deterministic, but in any case, you need to embed that, because maybe you need to even learn the trust and also navigating into details, the content. But it's not changing the role, it's changing the components of each role and how to work from now on in a different way. So maybe we are going to remove some part of our roles, because we are removing data analytics, because we can ask AI or agents or other AI tools to make it for us that are, consuming time, but we can use this time to learn more and to be more strategic, maybe. So that's something that we need to, again, incorporate and embed in our role. It's changing the perspective for sure. But this is how we are growing. That's my, and each of us should grow in that direction.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I really don't think that we are moving towards completely different jobs. If I think about my space, for example, I think it will be more of a different version of the same jobs, and it will evolve continuously. It's not that, okay, now we have AI and this is what changes and it will stay like this. No, it's going to change continuously. If I look at my space in cybersecurity and digital risk, AI is already quite embedded in a lot of the heavy lifting, like analysis, parts of assessments, and things like that, doing triage. But it doesn't take away the role, it doesn't make it less important, it just, again, shifts the focus. It goes from doing the job, some of the analytical work, to really understanding and progressing, and to Lucia's point, the more strategic way of working with your data, and using your decision making skills, and deciding on certain outcomes for the company. So I don't see the roles disappearing. It will shift, it will change. And I think that will be true for most of the roles within STEM, I think.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely 100% agree with you. We see that in Continental is that clear shift from those repetitive tasks to these making higher value decision roles. So I definitely see the same way. And I know you were talking of the fear of being obsolete for that. What should we be advising STEM students and recent graduates to look out for? What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Lucia.
Well, I think that obviously you need to stay updated, but I think that AI can help you in survive on this change. What I can suggest is that to be adaptable, that when if you know don't feel to be always anxious to be updated, but be adaptable, and look at the different. No, don't forget to learn the basic disciplines, engineering, whatever, psychologic. But on the other side, be very adaptable to the AI fundamentals. Stay in touch with the changes, but don't feel, because there's always something that you can use in your career of learning, for students. I mean, because that is if you learn in the student's path, then you will use when you will be in the working environment. That is not different, because you need to learn and apply, learn and apply. So it's really, but I would say don't feel obsolete. That can happen more on the work environment, that someone that are not able to keep updated over and everything could feel obsolete. But in the students environment, you need to learn how to adapt to those changes and decide, keep in mind what's changing, and focus on what is the next level of your knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's of course you need to learn how to work with AI early on, because
Yes.
and also don't outsource your thinking to AI, right? Because the
Yes.
thinking is what you need to do.
I agree.
Yeah, because everyone has access to the same tools, right? You will all have the same outcomes. I mean, it differs a bit, but still, your thinking, your personal touch, your interpretation of the results, decision making, yeah, that's all on you. Yeah, to Lucia's point, I do think that the intention you have about learning needs to be there constantly. Understand the why behind things. It's not just about the how, because the how is delivered by AI, but the why is what your reasoning and your final output by using an AI tool will be. So yeah, I wouldn't say prepare for a different type of job, but really prepare to evolve continuously within your job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. I was watching also an AI from the Diary of a CEO, and it was really cool because one of the leaders was really saying AI is still a machine. Yes, it's doing a lot of the human thought and the thinking process, but what's the power of a human is we have this consciousness, and that we have the power to decide and ethically decide what to do. And no machine will be able to do that. It can give us proposals, but to do that consciously and to feel is coming from us. And that's what is the super and part of that. As you guys are leaders, what do you see is changing in this AI front? As I just touched, it's the human-centric approach. Or should we emphasize more this human-centric approach, or should we be more analytical and data knowledgeable, just so we know where the data is coming from? Or do we need both?
Yeah, that's that's the $1 million question, I think, now that everyone is asking themselves. I think leadership today is very clearly becoming a combination of both. So on the one hand, you have yeah, AI is giving leaders access to more data, to get faster insights, to get better predictive capabilities than before. That's one thing. So yes, I think leaders absolutely need to become more data driven, more comfortable with analytics, and really more comfortable in using the data to support their decisions. But at the same time, of course, and I would even almost say because of that, the human-centric side of leadership is becoming even more critical. AI is helping us, like we said before, AI is helping us to answer the what, and then usually even says what next. But that leaders still need to make their own decision based on why you do something, and the context and the impact on the people. So in practice, I would say leadership is shifting from being really the person who has all the answers to being the person who is asking the right questions, do the interpretation of the answers that they're getting, and then really bring people along with all of that. So yeah, I would say yeah, more analytical and data driven becomes really more important, but then empathy, communication, judgment, interpretation, yeah, is
That consciousness part.
crucial. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Now we are opening it up for Q&As. So I see some people have put in the chats. Please put it in the chat so we can do it. I want to take this one question. So as I understand Phobo, she has 2 daughters, and she's struggling to give them a concrete guidance on choosing a career, except fluffy stuff like exercising critical thinking. What would you give as a recommendation to her or to your daughters if you had them? Have them both.
Yeah, it's a good question. I have a daughter, she already made her choice herself, so I was happy. But yeah, what I see now, for example, when I look at my daughter, she's doing biomedical science. So she is working with technology, she's coding, but at the same time, now she's in her internship, she's finalizing. Actually, now in half an hour, she's defending her thesis. So, and while doing all of that, she said, Mom, I really had to, I was really struggling with how to phrase my sentences in my thesis and really make it my own. Because inevitably they use AI to shape certain paragraphs, to create certain images and things like that. And she said, yeah, I really had to reread my thesis like 10 times just to make sure that whatever was in there was what I wanted to be in there. And so I think the communication, the like really thinking about the message. Is it my message? Is it what I want to put out there? So again, the critical thinking, but also the system thinking. It's like, okay, I'm using AI, but how am I using it? So it's a combination of a lot of things, of course. But does this really answer the question? Because was the question, what should the daughter study or go for, or
Recommendation.
recommendation of studies?
Or how to give them a guidance on choosing the next step, maybe for that.
Yeah. But yeah, of course, I think it's going back to even when I was young. I think you still need to choose what you think you will get, where you will get most impact for yourself, but also around you. What is your strength, right? What is the strength that you have that you can bring and that you can use to help people, to help a company, to help progress in certain things? Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I would just give as a recommendation is this internships. I did it when I did it. I did co-ops if I could. I did an internship in Germany. That's where I got to know about Europe. I would just really encourage to do that because then you really
Yeah.
test it out in an engineering thing for that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hallie. I think that, and I don't have daughters, I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews that are really in the age of adolescence, so they are really experimenting that. And I think that they need to be, brought to know more about these tools and know in depth and experiment, maybe with practical education. That is very important for them to bring the fluffy stuff that she was mentioning to a more, usable actions. That is okay because they learn with their social happenings. So I think it's the good guidance is not to ignore, but bring them together with you in the same, in the same path.
It was interesting because I did engineering here in Germany for one semester and I did engineering in the US. And what's different, the biggest difference is we actually got graded on how we communicated and what we came and brought out, not only on the content that we had. And so I thought that was to do it. And it sounds like the fluffy stuff, but in the end, that's what we do every day is communicating our message for that. Good. Um, So as we come to it, and if anybody has any more questions, please let me know to add it in. Uh, we have one question good. What questions can you suggest for early career candidates to ask in an interview that explores a company stance on a
Yeah.
DE&I that remains a non-decisive, I'm assuming?
Yeah. So for us specifically at BD, we put in heavily on associate resource groups, right? So we have different type of groups that focus on inclusion and diversity topics. We have a team that works around women specifically. It's called WIN, Women Initiative Network. So if you asked these type of questions, right, where at what level does the company support associate resource groups, and what does that look like, and is time allowed to work on more of the inclusion type of activities? I think this already says a lot about a company if that's there. Also from a learning education perspective, what is brought to the table by the company. If there's a clear answer there, then I think you should be very confident in the fact that you will be stepping into a very inclusive company.
Mm. I'm coming from a German company, and we never it was this employee resource group wasn't so popular. So it's really
Popular.
coming from a US one.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, what I still stay with my company is there's values. You really see that HR did a really good job, and that's where they really include the DEI so well, even though it's not stated
Yeah.
for that. And then I met women engineers, and so I see myself fitting the mold, right? And that's what you could always ask your company is like, hey, how is my diverse background? How does it fit? How is it seen in that situation? Maybe that you may not have the DEI initiatives as we're changing in there. That would be my recommendation.
Yes, I think it's, we have employee resource group, as Caroline was mentioning, we are American company, and so obviously we are including, and we generally do an introduction of what Micron is doing on the, inclusivity, more on the inclusivity of the company. But I agree with you, we need to embed that in our programs that are showing up that you are inclusive. And so maybe in career candidates is important to show what, and see and show what what the company is doing. That is very important, more than make a real question around, because it's very sensitive question, and so it's very difficult how to make this question. So you don't know, you are not investigating who you have in front of you. So my idea is to put that in a more showing what you're doing as a company, and make my, do you know that, do you know what's going on here, did you hear something, and so something more generic than specific.
Great. Thank you guys so much. So what we really learned is to be curious, keep learning, including AI. Don't be anxious about keeping up with everything, and fail. Because remember, first action is learning. So thank you again, Carolina and Lucia. And thanks everyone for your questions. Before we head to the breakout sessions, we want to put a link into this chat in the session survey. Please do complete this so we can gather your feedback and your ideas for that. So now, having heard lots from us, it's time for you to share your own experiences as we move into the breakout sessions, where we would like to quickly introduce yourself with just your name, where you work, then discuss one or both of these questions. How do you think AI will impact your career pathway? And second, from your perspective, where's the biggest misconception people have about AI and STEM careers today? These are informal conversations and they're not being recorded. So you'll get a prompt to enter your room. So you just need to click OK. Thanks. Have great conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you.